What's good, you guys? So Waves just dropped this new plugin called the Curves AQ. I've had the chance to play around with this plugin for the past few days, and here's what stood out to me, here's what I like, and here's what I think can be improved on. But before anything, what is Curves AQ? What does it do, and how would it benefit your workflow? It's an autonomous EQ, and that means that it listens to what signal you're putting into it, decides what it is, and equalizes it based on what it heard. So basically, it's supposed to be a quick way to EQ your beats. You know, you just tap learn, and it provides 5 different, I would say, presets based off of that one learning session. So it sounds cool. It sounds like, you know, some that could be beneficial. So here's a beat that I created, and I use Curves AQ to EQ this beat. All right, so I already have Curves AQ applied to this beat. I have one instance on the master channel. I also have some Rhodes with the plugin on it as well. So I'm going to be showing you guys the difference that it made to those sounds, and I'll be able to show you guys just how easy it is, you know, to clean up a sound. So I have this one section with some Rhodes, and I needed to take out a lot of the highs and some lows. So initially I used an auto filter just to get an idea of what sound I was going for. So when I had the auto filter, it sounded like this. Similar. No auto filter. But with Curves AQ, it's a lot more controlled, less resonant. And one thing that I do like about Curves AQ is the dynamic / static drawbar. So you can either have the EQ dynamic, which means that it's going to attenuate and boost certain frequencies on the spot, or you can have it static to where it's not going to boost or cut any frequencies depending on the signal. It's not going to attenuate anything. It's just going to be a static, either increase or decrease. Let me go ahead and show you guys the difference between static and dynamic. So that's static. And let's just solo out the Rhodes. So now you can hear it actually attenuating the different frequencies on the low end. As well as some of the low mids. So that's a really cool feature that I really like about this. Let's go ahead and show you guys how you would learn something on here. All right, so say for example, I want to add some EQ to these drums. We already have Curves AQ on, and we can either leave it on instrument or we can have it on mix. So depending on what signal you're putting into it, but let's just leave it on instrument and see what happens. So let's play it and learn. All right, so now you instantly hear a difference, and you see it says it determines that it's electronic drums. That's close enough. It knows it's drums, and these are the 5 different suggestions that it recommends. So let's just go ahead and see how these sound. Completely different sounds throughout each suggestion. So that's pretty cool. You know, it gives me 5 different like flavors of this drum that I can use. And it's real easy because it shows you where you need to be focusing on. It has, you know, it determines where the kick drum frequency is at. It determines on where the snare is at. It determines on where the highs for the hi-hat is at. And, you know, it just makes it a lot more streamlined. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead. We're going to leave this one on. Let's go ahead and go to these other Rhodes, these top Rhodes. So I already did this Curves AQ, but I only wanted the top end of these Rhodes pretty much because I want them to kind of sparkle on top. So let's go ahead and delete this Curves AQ, and let's try to recreate that sparkly Rhodes at the top. So what I would do is, it's an instrument, it's a Rhodes. Let's go ahead and go down to keys. Electric piano should be good. And then we're going to learn it. All right, it's picked it up. These are the 5 different suggestions. So now I'm just gonna listen. observe where it's blue and pink at. So this blue color represents cuts, so it's cutting out these frequencies, and then the red is boost, so it's boosting those frequencies. So I see that it's boosting some of the low end, it's cutting out some of those mids and highs. So let's go ahead and play around with this. I'm probably going to leave it at dynamic because I tend to like the way it sounds when it attenuates the different frequencies. It makes it sound a little bit more alive and responsive. So let's go ahead and give that a listen. Somewhere around there. And I also want to, I feel like it's boosting and cutting just slightly in the wrong area. So what I'm gonna do is hit offset, and it's gonna drag the whole wave around. So let's go ahead and give that a listen and see where it sounds the most appropriate at in context. Let's try a different suggestion. Hit the tilt. And now it's pretty much sparkling at the top, just how I wanted it to do. So let's go ahead and try to use Curves AQ one last time, and this time we're going to use it on the master channel. So we already applied one earlier. I'm going to leave that there, and we're going to put this in the beginning of our signal flow before anything touches it. So we're going to hit mix this time, and we're going to learn it. So we're going to play this at the lightest part of the beat, and before we hit learn, let's go ahead and select a genre. We're going to use, should we use, this sounds like neo soul to me, to be honest. So we're going to hit neo soul, hit learn, and as you can see, it's waiting for audio, so let's play it. This one's taking a little bit longer, I noticed. So it definitely does wake up the whole mix. I'm not going to lie, like it really does help to have different suggestions and to be able to just hit learn, and it's going to determine the different fundamental frequencies and where certain things should be boosted and attenuated. So the interface is really good for dialing in a sound really fast, but I just feel like I just wish that, you know, controlling and adding points was just a little bit more smooth. There's times where it just feels slightly clunky and sometimes not as responsive as I would like. That's really my only complaint with this plugin, because I feel like it does what it says it does. It analyzes it, it generates different suggestions, and you can either like it or you can not like it and try to fix it yourself based off of the little template it already handed you. So that's pretty cool. I feel like this definitely would increase my workflow with mixing and EQing, and it might even help me target frequencies that I probably wouldn't have focused on without using the adaptive learning feature that it provides. I also like that you can either have the graph be either static or dynamic. I feel like that adds a nice flavor to certain sounds when you use it appropriately. The tilt is also another good feature that I'm a fan of. Like I said, I just wish that it wasn't as clunky and it just was a little bit more responsive when trying to add different values and stuff. Now, I do feel like this isn't an EQ that you should use if you want to add grit to it. If you want to add a nice bit of saturation maybe you should be looking at a different EQ, because this is more of a, you know, digital sounding, crispy, clean sounding EQ. Not saying that you can't get dirty vibes out of it, but it's just, you know, I feel like you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you were using this just in the wrong way. You feel me? This is a good EQ to polish sounds with, not, you know, lower the fidelity of them. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a plugin that you can see yourself using to increase your workflow when mixing and EQing your beats? If so, the link will be down in the description below. And if you decide to purchase it, that's actually an affiliate link, so it'll help the channel out as well. But with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. See you on the next one. Peace out.